For the June block, we are going to be making two 6-inch heart blocks. You're going to have background fabric and then 4 different fabrics for the heart. Your heart can be light or dark as long as there is a contrast with the background fabric. You are first going to take your 2 1/4 inch background square and sew it to your 2 1/4 inch by 3 1/2 inch heart piece. Once you have sewn it, then you press the seam flat and press your seam to the dark, whether your dark fabric is the background or your heart. Just press the seam to the dark side. In step 2, you want to sew all of your heart pieces together and then press. We are now going to take our 4 1/4 inch background squares and cut them in half diagonally. We will add these to the heart pieces we just sewed. Sew your triangle pieces to each side of your heart piece. It helps if you place the triangle on the feed dog side when feeding it through, since it is a bias. When sewing the triangle, try to have an even amount sticking out from both sides. Notice the triangle is on the bottom. That way the feed dog can feed it through because it is a bias cut. If it were on top, the presser foot would kind of push it along and stretch it out of position. You have 2 triangles sewn on. Now just add the other 2 on the other sides. Press toward the triangle. Now that we have all of our triangles sewn into position, we are ready to trim to 6 1/2 inches. We are going to line up the center of our heart with 3 1/4 inches on our ruler. So if we have 3 1/4 inches exactly right down the center of that heart, and then we cut, this will give us 6 1/2 inches unfinished for our heart. We line up the cut side with 6 1/2 inches on our ruler. The 3 1/4 inches goes right down the center again, and then we're going to cut that off to give us a 6 1/2 inch square. For the bottom of the heart, you really don't want to trim much off. You have to have at least 1/4 of an inch here. So line up your ruler and then maybe just trim off this little excess. This should be lined up straight, and trim off the excess, and then we're going to line this bottom up for 6 1/2 inches and trim off the top. We've trimmed off the little tiny excess on the bottom, lined up your bottom with the 6 1/2 inch line. Make sure these sides are nice and parallel, and then we'll just trim off the top. Now you have a nice 6 1/2 inch square heart block. You will make 2 of these.